This time on the Adventures of Tarka, we explore the many natural wonders of Dominica, we get lost, and I practice my drone flying skills while sailing. Remember from last time, Tarka and I faced some rather unpleasant weather to get to Dominica. In some ways, it was as if Mother Nature was collecting its dues, or testing arriving crews to see if they were worthy of Dominica's natural beauty. That's because Dominica is a land of waterfalls and deep, unspoiled rainforest covering high mountains. It is also a volcanic island, and parts of it still very much bubble with activity, but we'll come back to that. Alex and Annetta arrived during the night, well after Tarka was secured. After entry formalities were completed, we began exploring in earnest, and quickly found ourselves picking our way through the forest up a river. Like always, we came prepared and wore appropriate footwear. The first part of the trail was rather obvious, and even had facilities. That's because it caters to tourists that can get a river taxi ride up from the sea. Dinghies aren't allowed, of course, and the place was rather quiet because it was the low season. After that, though, things got a little confusing.
Wait, what happened to the trail?
And we got a little lost.
Do you see the trail on the other side? I don't mind. It's beautiful. That's what she said. Hope we don't step on a crab.
Alex, just cross
Oh, freedom!
Eventually we emerged onto a jungle road, which led us back to a real road. One thing we were reminded of frequently on the island was that the lush rainforests come at a price. And without the rain, we wouldn't have Dominica's wonderful waterfalls. Getting to them, though, was a bit of a challenge. Sometimes we took crowded buses, through small villages, over mountains, and through dense rainforests. Other times we hitchhiked. Often we got lost. And of course, we also hiked. Much of Dominica is unspoiled, and we never encountered a single person on any of the trails. We actually did wear proper footwear this time. Because there was no one else on the trail, when we finally did arrive at a waterfall, we had it all to ourselves. After long sweaty hikes through the jungle, and not having a freshwater shower in weeks, We readily welcome these natural showers. Maybe they've made us a little crazy too.
Oh, it's not that deep. And it's fresh water. It's not salt. I love it.
All that hiking made us hungry, and sometimes we packed a lunch.
Some salt. And we have
Some more. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's a fish burger.
Very nice. But other times we had to work for our food.
Yeah, I think we're good.
How is it? Salty.
Yeah, it's good.
It's totally good. How is it?
The last one was better, more sweet.
We also made a short trip over to the windward side of the island. Sadly though, the shores here, and those of all Caribbean islands, are bleak reminders of the problems our oceans face with plastics. As a society, I believe we can do better than this, and I hope someday soon we will. A week of hunting waterfalls was fun, but it was time to see Dominica's volcanic side to the south. Before we left the anchorage though, we came across these adorable puppies and struggled to resist the urge to adopt them.
Yeah, rest. It's much bigger.
Sadly though, their mother was malnourished, chained up, and showed signs of abuse. Though we tried to find a way to at least get the puppies better homes, there was nothing we could do in the end. The next day, the sails came up, and I put Tarka on an easy southbound course over flat leeward seas. I found a new favorite spot on deck. And the sailing was so perfect that I decided to fly the drone for the first time while sailing. I love this little boat of mine. She may be simple, and she may be old, but look at her. That's a boat that can take me anywhere. Arriving in Rousseau, I tied Tarka to a mooring as required, but didn't feel very safe about it. That's because a few years ago, with Tarka's previous owners and while tied to one of these very same moorings, a line broke and Tarka ended up ashore and all but sank. So the next day I moved to a spot that Alex had found where we could both anchor. The mission for our stay in Rousseau was to make the long difficult hike to the world's second largest hot spring aptly named Boiling Lake. To get there, though, we would have to endure 3 difficult hours of up and down hiking. The hike was exhausting, but it was also tremendously beautiful. The rainforests on this island are lush and invoke thoughts of some lost world. Along the way, we were treated to some of the local wildlife. And some of it made us act a little silly.
You can pet it.
Yeah, it is. Watch, it's like poisonous.
Eventually, we spotted steam rising from the distant boiling lake, so we knew we were getting closer. But first, we'd have to descend into the very appropriately named Valley of Desolation. The descent was slippery, and each step was a bit touchy. Dominica is actually the youngest island of the Lesser Antilles, and this area is very much a reminder that it is still actively being formed. In the valley, the ground was boiling around us. Ahead, though, we could see the geothermally heated water flowing into the green canopy of the jungle. And what we found there was a paradise. The water was perfect. Probably wasn't smart to spend so much time in these natural hot tubs, knowing we still had a 3-hour hike out of the rainforest. But we couldn't resist. In comparison, the boiling lake was a bit anticlimactic. Don't get me wrong, it's interesting as far as big, hot, bubbling pools of water go, but it was just mostly obscured by steam. A bit reluctantly, we left this lost world behind us and hiked back to reality. At the trailhead, there's a deep, narrow gorge full of crystal clear water, and we couldn't help ourselves but to explore. The water was very cold, and the walls were slippery and offered no support.
I can see why they want people to wear life jackets.
We saw what we needed and quickly swam out. Luckily, there was some warm water flowing off a ledge, which we really needed. Continuing with our habit to seek out unsanitary goat interactions, we found this Rasta on our way back.
Oh, hey!
Oh, this is how you get sick. Don't worry, we didn't give him any beer. It is now July, and there are reminders in Rousseau of why it's not a safe place to be during hurricane season. So it was time to go. In the early morning, and without any wind, I drifted along south. Out of the lee of the island, I finally caught some wind and was propelled on my way to the next island, Martinique. In some ways, I was excited to see a new island, but it was hard to leave Dominica behind. I will also have to say a difficult goodbye to Alex and Annetta in Martinique, so it was with a bit of a heavy heart that I pressed on. But new adventures are waiting just around the corner.